Hello everyone, it is Obscure Nick here today with a new video, and today we are celebrating 30 years of Nicktoons on Obscure Nick with Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy, and Doug. And today we are going to talk about Rugrats' first season and some of the dark moments that happened within that season. So let's deep dive and thrive. Before we get into this video, I just want to say today I'm experimenting a little bit here, and I got two studio lightings. Like, these are professional studio lights right now, so let me know what you think about them. I put a behind the scene video up. Let me know what you think. I'm just testing these out to see how they work. They're very powerful and they're blinding me right now, but I can still see what I'm doing, so as long as we have that, we should be good. Anyways, let's start. Rugrats was an animated show for Nickelodeon, one of the first three Nicktoons for Nickelodeon that aired on August 11th, 1991.
This Sunday, why face the nation when you can face the animation? Nickelodeon's new cartoons are stimulating and tasty. Think of them as cartoon coffee. They're Doug, Rugrats, Ren and Stimpy, and they'll never discuss foreign policy. The TV generation knows you can never outgrow good cartoons. So watch Nicktoons this Sunday starting at 10/9 Central only on Nickelodeon.
The series originally had 3 seasons and was going to end with an episode called Angelica Moves Away. However, there was multiple movies after and another 6 seasons, making it 9 seasons, and it ran until 2004 and was recently rebooted in 2021. The show was about a group of toddlers, Tommy, Chucky, twins Phil and Lil, and Angelica, and their day-to-day lives, usually involving life experiences that become much greater adventures in the imaginations of the main characters. This is one of the most popular Nickelodeon shows of all time, and it is a cultural staple to the network and to 90s culture in general for kids. Tommy's first birthday was the debut episode that premiered on August 11, 1991. They also had a theatrical Tommy and the Great White Thing pilot a year before in 1990, but it never made it to TV, but you can view that episode online if you'd like to. But in my opinion, Rugrats' first season was dark. Shows were capturing more real issues like real life crime and stuff and sickness, and not so much of an imagination like in storybooks and stuff, or them imagining themselves as pirates and stuff like that they do in later seasons. But in this season, they more so are dealing with real issues that babies are put in by the adults in a way, and it seems like that's what it comes off as. But there were also some other dark moments just with the characters in general here. First dark moment that I find dark is there is this episode called Barbecue Story. It's like the second episode of the series, and it aired on August 18th, 1991. This episode has a figure that looks like Chucky's mom in it. While Stu is filming the party, 3 unknown characters are seen talking, and we never see them again. And one of these characters is a woman that was like a prototype design to Chucky's mom. And that's what people assumed it was. At this time, the writers did not know what to do with Chucky's mom. They were just coming up with designs and everything. They were just trying to figure it out. They were just trying to do test designs in this episode, and they were thinking about incorporating her in, but the thing is they didn't want to hire that many voice actors to do her because that would be an extra character, because they already had so many characters already within the show. It was later written in the show in season 4, an episode called Mother's Day, that Chucky's mom passed away years before Chucky could even remember. In this, it feels like I always took it as Chucky's mom passed away after this episode, and we just never got an episode based on that until season 4, but we never got an episode of her, death in general, and the grieving process of that, and how a baby deals with that, which I feel would have been a very interesting topic to if his mom passed away, but that would be so dark that I don't think it would make it to Nickelodeon, just in my opinion. But they did do an episode that explained what happened to Chucky's mom, and they did talk about her basically passing away in that one episode, but they never really dug deep enough into it, I feel. And I just found it haunting that from Barbecue Story to that episode, I always felt that it was that sometime in that period of time that she did, and I'm just like, we never got that conclusion. But the writers said that that was not meant to be, that it was supposed to happen before the series, not during the series. But I don't know how I feel about it. It's still a very dark concept, even for like a kids show to deal with, like death in general. It's not the easiest to digest for a kids show, especially one about toddlers. The next episode I wanted to talk about was Slumber Party. This is one where Angelica, Tommy's cousin, comes over for a sleepover, and Angelica, being the mischievous one, was kind of just giving Tommy a hard time about what a slumber party is and everything. And so they sleep in the same room. And for me, the darkest parts of this episode was just where Angelica is just opening the window and doesn't really care that Tommy's freezing whatsoever. I get that she's the antagonist. Y'all are trying like really hard to make her like a horrible individual. And I get that she's 3 years old, but it didn't help making her likable. Even though Angelica is my favorite character and I liked her a little later on. And I feel like she felt like a misfit in this show in a lot of ways, but I found this to be, I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way that she didn't really care that much, but I do, at the same time, she did care at the end where she realized she got Tommy sick. As well, something very dark about this episode is that it feels like you're on an LSD trip with all the hallucinations and everything, and it's just kind of freaky. I don't know what to think about it because it rubbed me the wrong way when I was younger. It made me feel sick myself, to be quite honest with you. I just found it odd that like Angelica would open it and Tommy was shivering to death, and I felt really bad for him that he couldn't, as a baby, he couldn't even like get up and close the window. I don't know if he knew how or if he was just being, because he could get out of his crib, but I just didn't know if he was just not getting out of his crib because he's scared of Angelica. Because Angelica comes with this very antagonizing, like evil, cold, more of like she comes with a more cold vibe in this season, and then the later season she warms up and it's more just silly. You know what I mean? There's a kind of like this switch. The third episode I want to talk about is called Ruthless Tommy. And this episode's where Tommy gets kidnapped by these robbers who thinks he's the baby of a billionaire. Now, this episode deals with the topic of like kidnapping and, you know, in some ways where it's like it's really freaky that sometimes when the child's unattended and not watched, that they go missing. And they went missing from their own house in general, which is really freaky. And I was always like on edge, biting my nails at every single moment because I was worried that they were gonna you know, my biggest fear, and this would be so freaky if they did this, if they like pulled a gun on like Tommy. Like that was my biggest fear watching this. It was a very interesting episode, but it was also like freaking me out because I was worried for Tommy's safety, but because Tommy kept pushing the envelope every time when he was at the robbers' apartments, getting held hostage. It was just freaky, that concept in general. Just, again, I found it very dark for a kids show to be dealing with that concept, but it was also interesting because it was the reality of what happens to some children and being abducted and everything. Some honorable mentions of episodes that I found just a bit, you know, quite kind of dark as well was Baby Commercial, mainly because the director that was shooting Phil and Lil was just so impatient with babies. Because I'm like, first of all, the director needs to like chill out. You're working with babies, so you better have some patience with that. Because as a photographer and someone who does video myself and who's worked with animals, the best thing to do is just have patience and let them naturally warm up to you. And this director I just found cold and impatient and was not giving the babies a real chance, because I'm like, they're babies at the end of the day. You gotta work with them more than they can work with you. So yeah, and you got to be patient with them. And I just found it very like weird, and just like it was just showing like glimpsing out a dark side of Hollywood, of children in the industry and why they shouldn't be in the industry, especially working with temperamental directors like that. Well, I think it was great that at the end of the episode, Phil and Lil's mom just was like, no, we're getting out of here. I'm glad that she took that once she saw how toxic the environment was. Another episode that I found freaky personally was the Grand Canyon, just because Stu and Dee Dee were getting scammed by these people, but somehow the babies stopped the scammers. But it was just kind of weird how they got into that weird situation where it was just like dark. You didn't know what was going to happen to all four of them. And they were getting scammed for their money, but you don't know what else. Because in those situations, when you're in like a very obscure area and you don't know where you're at, it's like, you don't know who you're dealing with, really. So it's really freaky in just general. I'm not saying anything like truthfully like bad about these episodes. I'm just saying they're very dark, and they're very dark concepts for a kid show is what I'm pointing out in today's video. And they're very interesting to watch. I do like the hand-drawn, sort of unpolished design of this season compared to the other seasons. It's kind of gritty and grungy, and it's just very cool. I personally enjoy a lot of episodes from Rugrats season 1, but even though they're dark, they're kind of just, they keep you on the ball. But these were just really dark concepts that I found as a child very freaky, and then as an adult, I can see a kid finding this freaky, you know? It's not the most kid-friendly, but it's, you know, very interesting for sure, and it's dealing with kids, stuff that does happen to kids not many people will talk about. Anyways, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this fun video. I had a lot of fun researching and just going back a little bit. I'll hope to do more retrospectives on Nickelodeon shows. Let me know if you like these types of videos, and I will gladly do more. And if you want me to do a retrospective on any other Nickelodeon or even Disney shows, I would be more than happy to do that. I hope you all have a fabulous day, and much love to you all.